we've already talked about the three main counselling approaches and the main themes of the humanistic and the psychodynamic approach, now let's break down the behavioural approach.
Behavioural psychology concerns itself only with observable behaviour. Behaviourism is a learning theory, and its main focus is to observe a person's behaviours objectively. It disregards the mind, how the mind thinks, and the person's emotional world.
Yes. The behavioural approach considers that psychological problems are developed through learned or conditioned behaviours.
Yes. It's assumed that these behaviours can be unlearned, or, in other words, reconditioned. And this approach is useful when dealing with issues such as phobias or addictions.
Yeah.
In essence, it's considered that changes in behaviours lead to changes in feelings.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because behavioural psychology initially was heavily influenced by B.F. Skinner and John Watson. And one of the key assumptions of behaviourism is that the environment influences your behaviour. So, for example, like children at school nowadays, they're rewarded with positive or negative scores depending on, how they've behaved throughout the day. And this helps to influence their behaviour. Children learn through their environment by reinforcements or punishments. And this behaviour modification is called operant conditioning, which is one of the two main approaches, and the other one being classical conditioning, which is sometimes also commonly known as Pavlovian or respondent conditioning. This is where Pavlov, he proved that dogs can be conditioned to salivate when hearing the sound of a bell. And this suggested that all behaviours are learnt through associations.
Yeah. So that sums up the behavioural approach. And then Aaron Beck and Albert Ellis came along and added a cognitive element. We call this today cognitive psychology. Unlike behavioural therapy, cognitive therapy includes the mind. It assumes that we have the capacity to process and organise information internally. Cognitive psychology focuses on the way we process information and how we think, how we perceive, and how we remember and how we learn.
So both branches of behavioural and cognitive psychology, they attempt to explain human behaviour, but both of these have since been developed into theories such as CBT, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, RET, which is rational emotive therapy, and DBT, dialectical behavioural therapy, and there are many others.
Yes, they take the best of both theories and include social psychology, which look at how interactions with others shape our behaviour.
So fundamentally, the goal of behavioural approach, including the cognitive therapies, is to encourage self-awareness and understanding on how your behaviour impacts your thought process, and once this is understood, you will feel differently and have a different perspective on your life.